What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to take a look at the Tesway X7 all-wheel drive e-bike. It's got dual motors and a huge battery pack. And Tesway sent this out to me, asked me if I could take a look. So today I'm going to show you my ride experience with this X7 bike. Maybe help you to decide if this is a bike that could match your e-biking needs. Here's a look at the specs. The X7 all-wheel drive rides on 20 by 4-inch fat tires and has dual 52-volt 1,000-watt geared hub motors made by EW. There's a single controller that delivers 22 amps to each wheel, and it's fed by a gigantic 52-volt 60-amp-hour battery pack. Up front is a double crown suspension fork with compression adjustment, and the rear has dual spring shocks, which are non-adjustable. The X7 has semi-log branded hydraulic disc brakes with 4-piston calipers, 203mm rotors. The pedal assist system is controlled by a cadence sensor. There's a twist throttle, 7 mechanical gears, a color display with NFC security feature, headlight, taillight, brake light. It weighs about 117 pounds, has a payload capacity of 350 pounds, and the current retail price is $18.99. Now that you know some of the basic specs, let's get into the ride experience. And the first question people always ask me when they see me on e-bike is, hey man, how fast does that thing go? Let me show you. All right, let's get out here and see what kind of speed this baby is capable of. Pedal assist 5, so I get full throttle. All-wheel drive mode, up to 30, real easy. So the bike is showing me 37, GPS is at 34. Got a nice long straight stretch here. 38 on the bike, 35 GPS. So they're a couple miles an hour off. And it's holding right there, 38 on the bike, 35 GPS. That is some pretty solid speed, man. That's impressive. On the long straight stretches, I could get this bike to 38 miles per hour on the bike, 35 on the GPS, so mid to high 30 mile per hour range, depending on which speedometer you think is more accurate. But with regard to speed, I'll just say this. It is really, really easy to get this bike over 30 miles an hour, which is plenty fast for a bicycle. And I do have one note for you on achieving max speed on this bike. It seemed every time I turned it on, it was locked down at 15 miles an hour and wouldn't go any faster. But it was really easy to get it unlocked. Here's what I mean. Let me get it in all-wheel drive. Okay, all-wheel drive, hit the throttle. And we're getting about 16 miles an hour. It won't climb past that. No matter what pedal assist you're in, it's just stuck at 15 miles an hour. So what I found is you got to do this. Let me stop in the shade. Maybe you can see the display. If you hold the I key for a couple seconds, it'll flash 99 at you. And now it's kind of been like unlocked. So now if I hit the gas, we've got all the power. So we're cruising way past 15. There's 20, there's 24, 5. So I guess that's how you unlock it out of the really tame mode, because every time I turn it on, it's stuck at 15 miles an hour until you hit that I key. Now I did check with Tesway on this, and they said there's no way to permanently unlock the bike. Users that want to go faster than 15 miles per hour are going to have to unlock that speed each time they ride the bike. But I mean, it's just one quick push of the button, so not that tough. Now, getting yourself up to speed is another thing I wanted to show you, especially on a dual motor e-bike. And the acceleration on this one is kind of smooth and steady. It's a nice even pull. It's not wheel spinning and wild. All right, we got the drone flying. Let me show you an acceleration. This is an all-wheel drive. 3, 2, 1, go. Nice, strong, steady pull. There's no front wheel burnout or like craziness in the front end spinning out anywhere. It's just kind of a grippy, strong pull. See if I can do it again for you right here. 3, 2, 1, go. It's a nice smooth acceleration. It feels pretty powerful on the level ground. All right, we took it down to just rear wheel drive now. I'll show you that acceleration. Go. Much tamer. Definitely much tamer. I like the all-wheel drive pull a lot better. Well, let's try one other thing. What happens when you turn the wheel in all-wheel drive and hit the gas? Really no burnout at all there. It just gripped and went. That's nice. I mean, to me, that's a good all-wheel drive system where you're not getting the crazy front wheel burnout. That's fun. I love doing that. I have a lot of bikes that do that. This one, it makes it a lot more drivable. You can make it spin if you lift up. Now, I've ridden a ton of all-wheel drive e-bikes. This is one of the, I'll call it safer or more manageable all-wheel drive systems. It doesn't really break the front wheel loose ever. It just kind of grips and goes. And it was a bike that I just kept in all-wheel drive all the time because it's really easy to ride like that. And I enjoyed having the extra power, having the front wheel going. And you really only have two drive modes. You can be in rear wheel or you can be in both wheel. There is no front only drive mode, and changing the drive mode, super easy. It's just a quick press on the I key and you're in the next mode, and it just goes back and forth. All-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. So it's got solid speed, pretty decent acceleration, and it's also quite heavy. This is 117 pounds, at least on my scale. So how is the braking? All right, coming back down the hill here from 26 miles an hour to 0. Really good stop. I left the 20-foot long trail of tire mark there. These brakes are actually really strong. They're Semi-Log is the brand. I don't know where that falls in the hierarchy of braking systems, but they're 203 rotors and they're 4-piston calipers on it, and they're really strong actually. They feel like they've got a lot of bite. Sometimes when you grab a brake lever, there's no bite to it. These, I mean, they really bite hard. Now, let's show you the brakes here one more time. I'm going to try to do a controlled stop. And now. Very nice. Not much skidding at all. You can really skid the tires if you want to, but there's a lot of power here in the brakes. So I was pleased with the brakes. I mean, no trouble at all bringing this bike to a stop. So how are we doing? Is this bike checking some boxes for you? If so, then let's take a look at how you might fit on this bike size-wise. All right, let's show you the size of this X7. I am 6 feet tall. Here's what I look like getting on this bike. I've got the seat up a little bit where I can get the balls of my feet down. It's a pretty comfy ride position. The seat's really soft and wide. It's a good seat. Usually they're terribly hard, but you can go down probably another 4 inches or so on the seat. Minimum seat height, I believe, is 34 inches. I usually ride around 36, 37 inches. And it's not a step through, but I suppose if you had to, you could come through here. I mean, if you had like a really tall luggage or pack on the back, you could step over this thing like that. It's heavy, but it's balanced, so you can kind of lean it over and put your foot through. Like, I have really long legs, so I can do that pretty easy. And then getting off same way. Kind of just go right over top of it like that. But don't let these 20-inch wheels fool you. It's still a pretty big bike. A lot of times looking online, people will think 20-inch wheel means it's a kid's bike. This is not a kid's bike. This is a pretty big and very heavy bike, perfectly adequate for a full-grown adult. And I'll put this thing down to the minimum so you can see. You're kind of limited by the battery pack. The seat hits the top of the battery. It would probably go down another 1.5 inches if that battery wasn't right there, but this is minimum seat height. So 6 feet tall, minimum seat height, 34 inches. That's what I look like on it. And then to take the battery pack out, you kind of got to remove the seat to get that out of the way. First, let's turn it off. NFC card. Okay, that's off. Let's take the seat out. Now we're going to turn our key to off and to release the pin and unplug right here. Big, huge plug. And now you can pull the battery out of the bike, and it's 30 pounds, 30-pound battery pack. It's pretty heavy, but you got a lot of range. That's the benefit. And you got to slide it down over this rail here, get it lined up perfectly. There you go. Drop it down in. Okay, we can plug it back in, turn our key back to the pin out, lock it in place, and then you can turn it on. And now you can get power to the screen again. Here's what the pedaling position looks like. I mean, you can put the seat high enough where you can comfortably pedal it. Some of these don't have adjustable seats. This one, the seat's adjustable. The handlebars are not adjustable though. You can't really do anything with those. And I will say this bike feels really stable. I mean, you can let go of the bars. They don't feel like I'm gonna fall side to side, or that they're gonna wiggle on me. I feel like it's maybe a combination of the frame is reinforced with that bar that goes underneath the bottom of it, and then the weight of the battery, that 30-pound battery, is in the middle of the bike. So it really kind of centers the mass, and this thing is a heavy bike, 117 pounds, so it feels really planted. If you want to get your feet flat on the ground while sitting on the seat, you probably got to be like, I don't know, maybe 5'5"-ish to do that. I had no trouble riding this bike at 6 feet tall. I could get into a really comfortable ride position, and the seat goes up to 41 inches tall. So I think even at 6'3", 6'4", you could probably ride this bike. And the weight is definitely something to keep in mind too, if you plan on lifting or loading this bike at all, because even with the battery out, it still weighs 87 pounds. Now there's two other big questions I always get asked about e-bikes. The first is, how's it do on the hill climbs? And the other is, what's the range? How far can you go on a single charge? Let's start with the hill climbs. Okay, time for the hill climb test. We test all the bikes right here on the same hill and we time them going up. We time the bikes to see how they compare against each other. And you know, an example, 750 watt bike climbs the hill 22 to 25 seconds. This is gonna be way under that because we got dual motors. Let's see where it lands. 3, 2, 1, go. Not a crazy pull off the line, pretty smooth acceleration. Building nicely. Accelerating pretty good now. And we cut the time now. That was a pretty good run. It's down in the teens, mid-teens probably, 16, 17. Solid, I mean, solid run. It's not a crazy steep hill. It's probably about 12% grade. It's just not hilly around me. So that's, to me, that's like a moderate hill. I wouldn't want to ride it up with no power. All right, we made it over to our short, steep little hill here. I know it doesn't come through on camera, but this is basically a wall right in front of me. Very short, steep hill. And I want to show you what happens when we try to do this all-wheel drive, full power, no pedaling. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. It almost gets there. Almost. Can't quite do it. It's better at the, carefully back down here. It just doesn't have that real low torque to do it on its own. But, I mean, it's a bicycle. Just pedal. Pedal once. Here, we'll do it again. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Let's just pedal a little bit. I mean, pretty effortless that time. So if, you know, depending on how you're going to use this, that's important to know. If you're going to do really steep off-road challenging hills like that, and you are thinking you're going to do them throttle only and never have to pedal, I mean, it's not going to. You just have to give it a little bit of assistance to do this stuff. Let's give it a shot. See if it'll do it under throttle power only. It's gonna do it. It's got just enough. It would have been a piece of cake had I pedaled at all. All right, so I think this one comes down to two things. Number one is, what's the terrain like you're gonna be riding on? And number two is, how do you plan on riding the bike? If you gotta climb really steep mountain hills because you live in the mountains, or really challenging off-road hills, you're probably gonna have to pedal a little bit at times to help this bike up. If you live where it's flat, you live at the coast, this bike's probably gonna have way more power than you'll ever need. And what's your ride style like? Are you planning on riding it like a little motorcycle, throttle only all the time? And I say that because some people physically cannot pedal the bike. That's why they buy an e-bike, so they can just ride it throttle only. Or are you able to pedal and help the bike out? So hopefully these clips showed you what this is capable of and could it meet your needs. Now, if you're gonna pedal and you're looking for some exercise, then you should know that the X7 uses a cadence sensor. Here's what that's like. Now, I think it's important we discuss the pedal assist system on this X7, and it's a cadence sensor and it's speed-based. So cadence just means as soon as I start rotating these pedals like this, it's gonna kick in and start giving me power. I don't even have to push on the pedals. Just when they start rotating, you get power. And it's speed-based, meaning it's gonna give you pretty much full power all the way until it hits a certain mile marker. So let's, I wanna show you this. I'm gonna put in pedal assist 1, and if I just rotate, about 9 miles an hour is where it wants to take me to. If I punch this plus button and go to pedal assist 2, boom, power kicks in, takes me to 15, 16, 3, power kicks in again, drags me up to 22 and then cuts out. 4, power kicks in full blast, drags you up to 28, 29 before it cuts out. So it makes it a little bit hard to ride the bike in a slow speed. Like right now I'm in pedal assist 4. I can never pedal and ride slow because if there we go, 5 miles an hour, I start turning the pedals. When it kicks in, there you go. We get full power, and it's just gonna take me all the way up to like 28 miles an hour. So if you want to ride slow, you got to be in the lower pedal assist, like this. I'm in 1, now I can go about 9. That's as slow as I can go pedaling. Of course, you can go slower with just using the throttle, feathering the throttle like this. I can go 3-4 miles an hour. If you just want to rotate the pedals and not really push and still get the power, you'll love this one. In the mechanical gears, they're set for kind of the lower speeds. I have a clip of me trying to pedal this bike at 30 miles an hour. And at that point, you're kind of running out of feeling in the pedals beyond 30 miles an hour. So if you're expecting to push at the higher speeds, you can't really do that. You kind of ghost pedal once you get over 30. And the last big question is range. I did a throttle only full power range test, and here's what happened. All right, we're about 1 mile into the start of our range test here. Let's get a feel for the power. I mean, the power feels pretty strong here at the beginning. Speed-wise, the bike says we're doing 38. GPS usually says about 35. So 35, 36-ish is your max speed here at the start. We'll kind of test that as we get a little bit further into this. They say on the website you could have up to 200 miles of range. And I think it said 180 on throttle only. There's no way is it going to do 180 throttle only. I'm going to do this throttle only. Put your guesses in the comments below. And I suppose it depends on what you mean by throttle only. If you were in single motor drive in a low pedal assist and you're just throttling around at 15 miles an hour, you're going to go a lot further. That's not the way I'm going to do it. We're going to be in dual motor mode, full power, going high speed, 30 plus miles an hour for as long as possible. So I'm going to try to show you the minimum range to expect. Ooh, broken glass. Now, I did make a quick pit stop back at home to grab a helmet and also one mirror so I can at least have an idea what's going on around me. But this thing still got really good power. I think we're like 16, 17 miles in. And if you wanted to do this, just kind of zip around neighborhoods, little housing things like this, it'd be perfect. Lots of power to do this. Yeah, flat ground, man, you are cruising 36 miles an hour. No problem. But now we're going to start the hill climb out of here. This hill is over a half a mile long. Still doing great here. The start of the hill. 34 mile an hour, 33. It's not crazy steep. So we've been holding mid-30s up this whole hill so far. 35.6 is what it says on the dash here. But now it gets a lot steeper right here at the end. I bet we drop down in the 20s. You can hear it bog down a little bit. But I just want to show you like a real use case scenario here. You get a little bit steeper hill. We're down to 27, 26. Down to 26 miles an hour from 35. And now we're leveling back off. All right, so after that real long hill climb, and we've gone a total of 20 miles, a little over 20 miles, I'm at 56 volts, which I believe is just north of 80% battery, I guess. So we use 20% battery roughly in 20 miles. Okay, we're about 30 miles in, and I don't feel like this thing has lost one step yet. The power feels the same as the beginning, even 30 miles in. And we're back to doing the high speed stuff now because I want to try to burn through some battery. We're about 80% on the screen right now. We're approaching 43 miles now. And at the lower speeds, this thing still feels really powerful. I can't really notice any drop off. But where I notice the drop off is here. Top speed, which used to be 38 on the screen, it's now 33. So I guess that is the first important comment to know, is that you can go about 40 miles on this thing before you eventually feel some of the power start to fade. But so far, it's only been at the top end. The low end still feels like it has plenty of juice. Now this bike feels pretty good on level ground, even after I've gone 61 miles. But this is going to be the test. How much strength is it lost in the hill climb? Let's find out. Ready? Go! Can it still do it under its own power? I think it's going to, but definitely not as strong as the first time. Yeah, it's going to be real slow. But it's doing it by itself after 60 miles. And I'll tell you, it's probably not the slowest bike that's ever done this hill. There you go. Okay, I mean, it's still usable power. This is still usable power. I'm not helping it at all climb this hill. All right, we're about 62.5 miles, and this bike has hit the wall. Our top speed now is only about 20 miles an hour. And I think that last hill climb really just kind of took the wind out of its sails, man. I think that used up the last bit of juice it had. I mean, we can still get home, no problem, but it's fading fast. We're down into single digits. When I hit the throttle, it's like 3% battery, so. And I think we're gonna call it right there. 63 miles, 8% battery. I could limp it another couple miles, but you get the idea. 63 miles of full throttle, full blast, dual motor riding on this battery before it was cooked. And I really just tried to burn through it as fast as I possibly could, and it still took me 3.5 hours to do that. I was really impressed with how long the power hung on with me just running this bike into the ground. I don't think most people are gonna ride the bike like that at all. Everybody's range is gonna be different depending on a bunch of factors, but I would say if I actually pedaled the bike and kept it in a lower pedal assist level, I was in 5 the whole time, full throttle. So if I pedaled, had in a lower pedal assist, and rode at normal bicycle speeds, you know, maybe 25 miles an hour or less, this thing goes 100 plus miles so easily. So easily I could do that. And that's way more than I would ever ride in a day anyway. 63 is way more than I would ride in a day. And I should also mention that it was a comfortable range test. I really didn't get tired of riding this thing. The seat is large and soft, so that was comfy, and the suspension did well. I mean, it soaked up the bumps. The rear suspension, these shocks, they're non-adjustable. These are just fake air chambers here. But neither the front nor the back really bottomed out on me or rebounded really hard. It was a pretty smooth ride. All right, so I'll give you a couple of my final thoughts here. The selling points of the X7, I think, are gonna be big battery pack, big range. The dual motors gives you pretty solid acceleration and power, and it's a pretty comfy ride, all for $18.99, not a bad price. But with that price also comes a couple sacrifices, I'll say. So the first is, I mentioned the rear shocks. These are non-adjustable. These are just fake shocks here. There's not really an air chamber there. So non-adjustable suspension, although it did pretty well. It has a speed-based cadence sensor. You know, torque sensor would be the higher component, but you got to pay for upgrades like that. The battery, it's a huge battery pack, but it doesn't really say what brand of cells are in there. So I guess we'll see how that performs over time. And there's a couple things I'll just call finishing issues, fit and finish. The plate and the bar that run underneath this top tube, although I like what they do, I think they really stiffen up the frame and make it feel really stable and sturdy. But aesthetically, I don't know if it looks the best the way it's finished off. And the same with the end of the rear rack, which it just looks like it's kind of chopped off and painted. I'm not sure why it wasn't finished off a little better. If you had either the rear passenger seat or the rear rack on here, you wouldn't even notice that, but with having neither on there, it just ends rather abruptly. But overall, I like the look of the bike. The blue is much different than what it appears online. Online, it was a really, really bright blue in the picture, and this is definitely a darker, more navy blue, which I actually like this color a lot better. And I also really like the NFC feature thing with the display. So you use this to turn the bike on, the little card. You just swipe it over the screen and it comes on. You can't turn the bike on without this card. That's kind of a cool little security thing. I always like when they have that. I guess you just need to think about what features and components are important to you before buying. I'll link this one below if you want to check it out further. And as always, I hope you found this video helpful, informative. If you did, consider hitting subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.